Last night, we reported a major update to the KDKA investigation into pharmacy closures across Pennsylvania. Governor Josh Shapiro signed new legislation to try to stop them from going out of business. So you have a place to pick up your life-saving prescriptions. Meghan Schiller started following the story back in March. She joins us on Talk Pittsburgh to share what this could mean for you. And there really are two different updates to what's been going on since you first reported on some of these closures that were happening.
Right. So we have two pharmacy stories completely unrelated. Somehow ended up being the pharmacy beat reporter here, but they're really important because both stories impact regular people, especially people that are spending a lot of money for prescriptions, especially cancer medications. So essentially everything's so expensive, and these pharmacies are trying to get you what you need, make it affordable, but they are also dealing with the fact that they can't pay the bills.
I remember one of the first pharmacies that you covered, and then shortly thereafter we started to see a few more starting to close. These are community pharmacies that were shutting up and leaving people with nowhere to go.
We had done like a bunch of pharmacy stories during COVID, and one of those pharmacists had reached out to me and sent me a text message and said, have you been seeing these headlines? We're not all just running out of money coincidentally at the same time. We need to look into the reason. And it's this thing called pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. And I thought, what in the world does that mean? That seems very complicated.
Right.
I had a 4-day pharmacy tour, is what we called it, where I went and met with a half dozen pharmacists and just hung out with them and asked them questions about what they were dealing with, and they all pointed to the same thing, which were these PBMs.
And so what is it exactly, and how has it caused this huge problem?
Yeah, so they've described it as PBMs are these shadowy middlemen. Essentially, they have to sign contracts with these PBMs, and they're saying if they have to pay $20 to fill your prescription, they're only being reimbursed by the PBM, say maybe $10. So there's always a $10 gap, and that's for most of their prescriptions. So they're going in the red every single prescription. Sometimes, 30, 40 prescriptions an hour.
Wow.
And then they can't pay their employees, and then they have to make the tough decision to go out of business.
And we're saying $10 just for the sake of people at home, but we know that some of these medications are very expensive. So if it's not the full amount, they're losing out on a lot of money sometimes.
Well, and honestly, that's a hint too. If you go to your pharmacy and they say that they're out of stock, a lot of times it's just they don't even carry it because they would take a hit. Especially some of these newer medications that a lot of people are trying to get on. They can't even keep it in stock.
So tell us about what the update is to that angle of things. Is there a good update?
Yes, positive. The governor literally signed it into law yesterday. PBM, transparency, and reform. So essentially, right now, these PBMs, they can't be audited. Their books can't be opened. You can't look at their finances. Well, now with this governor signing this into law, there's going to be transparency. Now our state's insurance department can have some oversight.
Oh, that's great.
And that is huge because then that can kind of keep these pharmacies in business.
So one of the other things that you've covered too is something that I think a lot of us probably didn't even know that was happening or was going on or even an option. So tell us about this. They're basically unused prescriptions.
Oh yeah, this is for the Cancer Drug Repository Program.
Yes.
So essentially we found out through our reporting at KDKA Investigates that the state has a program for pharmacies to accept these unused and unopened cancer drugs, but we had no pharmacies signed up. There were 2 across the state. We reported on it, then finally the state decided that they needed to actually get someone in this program, so they started calling all these pharmacies. Now there are 20 across the entire state and more, and some in our area, that now they'll have these cancer drugs. So if you or your loved one gets cancer, you can call and you can try to get some of these discounted medications because any little bit helps when you're paying so much money.
So these are basically, maybe you've ordered too much, or unfortunately someone has passed away before they were able to use something that was already ordered. Those prescriptions can then go to this place.
Yeah, right now in our state, they're coming from hospitals and medical institutions. Other states right now will allow regular people to donate, so we're working on that because Pennsylvania doesn't allow that yet. But still, the consumer can call their pharmacy and say, do you have these medications?
I know you're not going to pat your own back, but honestly, this is why I think journalism is so important, because the work that you've been able to do in talking with them and getting into this has really led to some positive change for people right here in our neighborhood.
Thanks. Literally, the whole KDKA Investigates team had a hand in this, digging into these files, reaching out to these pharmacies and trying to figure out what is happening here. Is this really happening? And it was impressive what we found out.
So glad that you're doing the good work, Meghan. Thank you so much, and your entire team as well. If you're interested in checking out Meghan's full story on the pharmacy legislation, you can find that on the KDKA website, cbsnews.com/Pittsburgh.